Alright, we're gonna try and end this out real quick. I'm not staying on very long. I'm gonna go make some food and lay down here in a second. So, basically what we're deciding right here is that we go down here, we go to the basic build, so 4413, and then when we go over to the next screen, you can see that we can select our running skills like we had them before. So we'd have almost to advanced and then almost to medium, right? Well, from what we figured out here is that this advanced is going to be 15% movement speed. We know that. We know that 80% is 14% movement speed. Okay? So if you start the game at 80%, within, a few hours, like a day or two, you're going to get into the 15% range. So that's going to be where you can boost yourself up to an equal level of someone else that has that amount. One below it, 73%, is still 14% movement speed. But now you're going to have to go 7% to get to 80, and then probably an additional 3%. So you're looking at like 6% of 100,000. So that's not right. I don't think that's right. All right. So let me think for a second. 73% is 733,000 XP or whatever. Then to get to 80,000, you're looking at about 70,000 XP. So I would assume an additional 3%. We're probably looking at 140, 150,000. So let's do 150,000. We'll do it by a rate of 2 because we're not going to use a bicycle or whatever. And that would be 20 hours. And that's to go from the lowest point of 14% movement speed to 15% movement speed. Now, I'm assuming if we lower this another one, it'll probably be an additional 3%. So we're probably looking at an additional 10 hours. So that'd be 30 hours of running. You'd be looking at potentially 10 hours to get to 14%. But what this does, interestingly enough, though, is that if you are willing to basically bump yourself down to 13% for the first day, you'd be 2% lower. Then, after the first day of running or so, you would get bumped up to 14%, and you'd be 1% slower than the person that had 15,000. The person that's doing 15,000 or 15% is going to be working for Advanced Plus, which is going to be like 1,000,000 additional points. So after you get to 14,000, you're going to be needing like 150,000 points or something to get 15%. And if they get to 150,000 points in Advanced Plus, as far as I can remember, there's not much benefit because I'm pretty sure it requires 1,000,000 to get the next percentage. I could be wrong, but as far as I recall, that's how it works. So they're going to be a tenth of the way to getting to the next percentage of speed. While you just hit the 14 mark. And then you will need to do 2 more of those, so they will get 3/10 of the way to an additional point of speed, and you will be right at the 15 speed mark. So you're going to be about 3 to 4/10 of an advanced plus speed bonus by the time you get all this figured out. Now, the whole point of this though, the whole point of looking at this, so 80%, this is 73%. I believe this is what we were just at, like 63%, which makes it to where you can boost up endurance to medium. However, our starting goal is medium, so that means that technically I could split back 2 points if I wanted to from conditioning. And within a day or so, my conditioning will be at 4. So like you can come over here and drop this by 2 and free up 2 points, which is going to have an impact on your character for sure, but it's not going to be something crazy. So now we can see that this is min-maxing the build, where I'm going to be slightly slower early game than someone that has advanced. Technically, I'm going to be 2% slower for the first day or so. And then I'm going to be 1% slower for the next 3 or 4 days. And then I will be on par with them for probably a few weeks if we're both like relay racing trying to level this thing up until they get an additional 1% speed bonus. And that's how I'm thinking about this at the moment. Endurance wise, it's going to give you like 8% endurance regeneration. Okay, it's not going to be too crazy, not going to be too bad. We could do this with strength, but I'd prefer not to. So here we can still keep our melee weapons and brawling like this if we want to. Or, since strength takes a lot longer to level up than most things, we could take these 2 additional intelligence points and put them into strength to 4.2. And then we could boost up one of these by an additional point. So you see, if we boost this up by an additional point, you're going to be really, really close to getting this done. And like, it'll probably take you like 2 to 4 hours maybe to finish leveling that. I believe we said before this right here was like 6 hours. So it should be 200,000. So it should be right about anywhere between 4 to 7 hours to finish that. Actually, no, it's like 4 or 6 hours to go from 0 to basic, and then this is 3 times the XP. So technically, in the same amount of time that it would take us to go from 0 to medium and brawling, we could take away 3 times the XP. It goes 3, then 7, then 19, I think. So you're getting more than double each increase. So this is going to be slightly over 3 times the XP. So instead of having 100,000, we could go down to 300,000. So we could go technically, so this is 80%. We could go down to here or here and be on par with leveling brawling from 0 to medium, which would free up an additional couple points, which we could put into melee weapons if we wanted to early. But if we're starting from melee weapons early, and we know it levels faster than brawling does, this is 20% under that. So like this right here would be 90,000. This is 80,000. So this is 20,000. And it's going to take you a little less than half as long. Where's my calculator? So, if all the numbers I'm remembering in my head are correct, which, correct me if I'm wrong because it's been a while. 10,000 for basic. Brawling, I'm pretty sure gets 3 off the front of that. And if we're doing 1 a second, just assuming, it's about an hour to go from 0 to basic. Okay. And then now to go from basic to medium, it goes up to 7. And it's 100,000. And we're still going to say 1 a second. 4 hours. So the grand total of that would be about 5 hours to go from 0 to medium of constant farming. Now, taking that rate, which ours would be a lot faster. So if we took, okay, let's just say 5 hours, right here, 5 hours. But now let's say that we took that 100,000 or that 110,000 XP there, and we do 19. It's either 17 or 19. Let's do 19. Boom. See how that's like 1.5 hours? So at 80%, it would take us like 3 hours, because that's 200,000 XP. And at 733,000 experience, that's not an additional like 100. That's an additional like 70,000. You're looking probably like 4 hours. But melee weapons, I mean, it's going to be pretty similar. It's the same XP gain as brawling. So for the melee weapons section over here, we got to decide if these 2 stat points are worth that, because you can gain 0.2 stat points in strength decently enough. So say melee weapons, it's going to be 100,000 at 7. I mean, that's going to be the same. So that's 4 hours from 0. We're 20,000 under what we need. So that's less than an hour to get to medium. And then you're going to have 14 hours from medium to advanced. However, With melee weapons, you can hit 2 to 4 puppet bodies. So if we hit 2 puppet bodies, we're going to get this done in 7 hours. And if we're able to hit 3 puppet bodies, it's going to be even more. It'd be like 4 hours. So you're looking at potentially 7 to 4 hours to level melee up from medium to advanced, which is going to be drastically faster than brawling. Okay, so I'm fine with that. We could technically lower melee weapons down more if we wanted to, because this 20,000 that we got here, I mean, overall, right here, we're looking at about 6 hours for brawling and about 6 hours for melee weapons. So I'm fine with that. That means we can take 2 additional stat points from strength if we want to, even though I hate to. That would give you an additional 0.4 for something else. Okay. Now, dexterity skills, stealth, we know that you can technically level this to medium in 7 hours, I believe. So if medium stealth is the goal, I say that we can get a rate of 2 potentially. 15 hours. Okay. But we can passive level stealth with camouflage. So early game, that won't matter so much. Okay. So on one hand, we could take these additional 4 points and stick in dexterity. And then we could have those hours into stealth early, or we can put those hours into thievery early, or we can put some of this into motorcycles and cars so that this is faster off the starting line, and then keep some of this still into thievery, which could work as well. That just depends, because cars can stall and they're slower the lower your skill is. So like motorcycles with no skill is dreadful. Like absolutely terrible. Okay. But you're looking at a decent amount of lockers to level with thievery, but also when thievery is at medium, it's going to give you the potential of doing um, the kill box and all of that earlier. So if you're going to crowbar lockers to level thievery, you could potentially get a key card, and then that is going to allow you to get guns and access to other things earlier. Now, on a low loot server, I think that's still potentially more valuable than driving and motorcycling. Just the access and ability to acquire guns, because the kill box on the low loot is like the highest chance that you have to get guns. Okay? So we're looking at 10% to medium thievery. So you're going to look at 10,000 and you're going to get like 50 XP per locker. So you're looking at 200 lockers. I don't know what the crowbar rate would be with these strength levels. I'm assuming it's going to be a little slower than 4.5. I don't know. I'm going to say like maybe, let's say 4 minutes. So we got 200, 60, 240 times 200. Okay. That's going to speed up your crowbarring early, which is going to help you. The main thing here is that you're going to have access to the kill box. You're going to be able to potentially lockpick a kill box. It's possible. So that's useful. Then here, advanced medical. Okay. Now, argument being once intelligence leveling gets to the game, you could take points out of this. So with alcohol leveling or disinfectant leveling with medical, it goes 10, 20, 40, 80. So the first 10,000, if you were going to level medical with disinfectant, would be 10 XP per use. And if you're using a 10 use bottle, okay, it's 1,000 uses. If you're using a 10 use bottle, that's going to be 100 uses. Or 100 bottles. So, all right, I'm just going to have to remember that. So, I do have a pen right here. No, I don't. Okay. Well, all right, so 100 bottles for basic, okay? And then it jumps up. So we're going to have 100 bottles for basic. Then you're going to have 100,000 experience that you need with 20 XP per use. And we're going to use a 10 times bottle. So you're at 600 bottles, okay, to get to medium. Now let's say that you collected 10 bottles, okay. You'd have to do that 60 times to get to medium, which wouldn't take very long, okay. Now, if we were going to take medical, actually, we'll do this real quick. 600 bottles, and then we're going to times it by 10 to go back into how many uses that you're going to need. Okay? All right. And then we'll do a ballpark number that's high. So let's say like 4 seconds. I think that's potentially a little bit higher than I think. So we'll times this by 4, and we'll divide that to get 6 hours. So that duration of time is going to be a little over 6 hours, potentially 7 hours. Does that seem reasonable to you to level medical? Okay. So now we need to take the same XP and multiply it basically by 3. Sort of. Because once you go from medium medical to advanced medical, you're going to get 40 XP, right? So you're looking at, let me think for a second. The XP ratios are different for each. So let's say 7 hours to level everything. 600 bottles, 7 hours. I'll go ahead and write it on my phone. That's the best thing I can think to do right now because I need to think. Okay. 600 bottle, 7 hours. Okay. So 600 bottles, 7 hours. So now we're going to take the 10,000 XP that we would need. I'm not sure how I'm going to figure this out exactly, but let's do 10,000 and we'll do the 40. So it's going to be 250 uses. 25 bottles. Okay. I think I know how to do this now. So 25 bottles for the equivalent amount of XP. And then we do 100,000 doing the 40, 10, 250 bottles for an equivalent amount of XP. So you're looking at 375 bottles compared to 600 bottles. So you could basically add an additional half on that. $600 bottles is 110,000 XP. Okay. We said 7 hours. 7 hours. So let's do 275 bottles times 10 to get back into the uses. And then we'll do the 4 seconds again. 3 hours. And that's debating if it reduces the time that it takes us to actually use the skill as well. It's possible the higher medical skill might allow us to bandage and stuff faster. So this could potentially reduce this. So we could at least double. So that would give us 220,000 XP. I would go ahead and round that out to 3,000 XP, potentially. And then you could drop. So this would be. No, because this is 80,000 right here. Yeah, this was 73,000. So that would be 4 stat points. Okay. So now you're seeing kind of what's going on here. So if you were going to land on the ground day 1 and you use something like this. All right, I know it looks goofy. I totally understand. But right now, I could take, for example, I could take these stat points. We got 1.4. I could put it in here. Dexterity, 1.8. I could put thievery back the way it was. I could put driving or something all the way up to almost basic. I could get almost basic demolition here. So I could start the game and literally get access to demolition in like an hour or so. I could get access to medium thievery in an hour, like a couple of hours. I could get access to advanced medical in a couple of hours of work. I could get access to medium melee or advanced brawling in a few hours of work. I could get access to running, the 14% movement speed pretty quickly. I could get access to medium endurance fairly quickly. All that stuff's well. My strength is better than someone with a 3-stat build. My health and stuff's better than someone with a 3-stat build. But I'm weaker than somebody that has like a 4 or 5 stack build. My dexterity like is going to be a little bit slower or something like that. But considering that the game right now doesn't have intelligence leveling, if we want to still max the intelligence, we're going to have to drop this back down to 1.4 and put this back in here to 3. Otherwise, you could take these 4 stat points and we could easily stick them back into something like Constitution, for instance, to 4.2. And then this would allow us to get more endurance or whatever. But if resistances come in here, this would allow us to get over basic resistance early. If we wanted like if we wanted to have rifles super ready to go, we could take like all of the brawling stats, stick them into rifles. This would level up to advanced fairly quickly if you have access to guns. We could slot these extra stat points into strength, boost strength up to 4.2, which would get us to 4.5 pretty quickly in game, because we can get those 3 stat points pretty easy in the first like day or two to get to 4.5, which would then help us with our thievery, because we're going to be able to use our thievery a lot quicker with the higher strength levels. But that also means that we could slot these stat points over into so for example, I'm going to go back down to here and we'll slot them over into strength. Then we can take rifles, bring them up here. I think it was here. And then we could take melee weapons and go back to where that was. And then we could take brawling or something and bring it up to basic level. It just depends what we want. But the increase here, like we could get heavy weapons pretty close. But the additional 4 stat points I think is interesting. So Constitution probably isn't the best bet. Dexterity, you could potentially stick it in here, and then you could leave Thievery and buff up like driving. That's the thing. Like whatever your main vehicle is, you could buff that up so that honestly, if I was gonna buff something up, I'd buff up motorcycling. I think. As far as I can remember, I think motorcycles were slower than cars. They're also less protected, so I'd probably go motorcycles, and you get access to them earlier. But until they add intelligence leveling, I would be careful with your stats here. So we're gonna do the 1.4 again, and go back to 3. And then we'll go back to our brawling and melee. 2, 1, 2, 3. That's 80%. Okay. All right, so now we're 80. Actually, we're not. I think that's both 63%. I don't remember what we had this set. I'll figure it out here in a second. All right, so advanced, boom, boom, right here's 80, and then this is 73. That goes up to there. All right, so what? This should be 73, and that goes up to there, I think. I think that's what we did. 73%, so you'd have 370,000 XP, 3 times the XP rate. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, and then medical, we would do the same. And then that would give us a basic and another skill. So here we could start with basic survival, so we can instantly start with a backpack. We could go basic sniping. We could go basic awareness. I think basic awareness would probably be the most beneficial for us hunting-wise early. The cost of this, however, would be that your medical skill wouldn't be the best at the very beginning of the game. You'd have to go and gather the supplies and then level it up as soon as you got the supplies. Like as soon as you got like a few bottles, like 5, 10 bottles, you'd have to start leveling this up. 730,000. Let's say 340. $850 bottles. It's about 10 hours. You find one bottle, it's going to be a little bit longer. So you're looking at about a day's work to finish it. I think it's reasonable. I'm not going to say it's like the best situation ever, but it's reasonable. Like I could see you wanting to start off with basic survival or like basic engineering so that you can make a improvised shotgun, or basic awareness so you can at least have some sort of help when you're trying to hunt animals. But awareness is fairly easy to level, even though it takes a bit of time. Survival's useful if you can get thread, which is hard on our servers, and it's fairly easy to level as well. It just takes a little bit of time. Engineering, you need to build a flag, and then you'd have to level it. You could level it with boxes, but I mean it's not as fast. That's a tough call. I would almost say basic farming just for food. Because farming wise, you have to find seeds, you have to build the planters, you have to take care of it. Even basic cooking could be decent. Surely basic awareness has to be beneficial at some. This is a tough call because I mean because you can build a flag and level up engineering fairly quickly, but if that isn't your main goal at the start of the game, but you build I think it depends on how much engineering you can get early, I guess. Because like survival wise, we know that we can go like right here and build our first gear and be at survival and save these additional 2 points. But awareness, that's not the case. And if we're going to say that we're going to level up to basic engineering at the first of the game, you would hit the ground and you'd start cutting trees and you'd have to start putting all the wood into the box blueprints. And I don't remember how long that takes. But that would level probably survival up to basic and probably awareness up pretty close, I would assume. I would like to assume basic awareness would be the best option. I would very much like to assume that. Not that it's going to help you with camo or anything, but it's the very basic start to hunting. So you're going to be able to see the paw prints at least if they're setting right next to you. Like it's going to be really dumb, but also awareness levels like a third of the speed of survival. So 10,000 starting points versus, so basically like if survival gets to 10,000, awareness is going to be at 30,000. Or no, if survival gets to 10,000, awareness is going to be at 3,000. So it'd be at like 13,000 points. Survival get to 10,000 points, and then so awareness would be at like 47,000. You'd be right at 50% to medium awareness, which is what you want for hunting. Ideally, that's something you would want for hunting right there, is awareness. The it's hard to say. I mean, it's a risk either way because I mean the medical skill alone is very beneficial if you get into a fight early. Like, there's no debating that. Like, you can definitely level awareness up to basic if you want, faster than you're gonna level up like medical at the very beginning of the game. But it really boils down to if you're gonna be able to get enough food. Can you focus on leveling awareness only at the very first of the game and not have to go hunt? That's the real toss up. As far as I remember, awareness has a flat rate, so I'll go ahead and stick it in medical. And this means that if we do level medical in the future, it would be for advanced plus. Otherwise, I would probably go farming here. I mean, any of these could be good options. I mean, if engineering, I can't remember if you can make shotgun shells off the very beginning, but I could see engineering being good too. Like just basic engineering, not having to worry about making crappy wooden boxes at the very beginning. I mean, you're gonna have to level it up and build a flag and stuff at some point, but it's easier to defend a flag in building if you have a shotgun. But I don't think you get the benefits of having all that extra medical XP unless you have advanced. That's what's getting me. Even if it does take you like 10 hours or something to level it, 6 hours. I guess we can test that out. Okay. So if we have basic awareness, by the time we get survival to medium, awareness should be, ideally, around 40 to 50,000 points. That's what I'm thinking. Because awareness is at 10,000 right now. We get survival to 10,000. Awareness is probably going to be about 13,000. We get survival to 100,000. Awareness is probably going to be, or hold on, I got confused for a second. All right, so I need to forget about the first 10,000. Awareness would have an additional 3,000 points in the medium, and then you would level survival up to medium, and then awareness levels at about 1/3 of the rate. So you're going to be setting at about 30 to 40,000 XP, which is right on par where most people kind of agree that awareness becomes beneficial to hunting. The question would be now is that if we make this character and we start the game, can we get awareness leveled up enough and all of our other stats leveled up enough fast enough before we starve to death? That would be the main thing. And then stage 2 would probably be we would want loot. We'd want to crowbar lockers and we want to gather alcohol. That'd be the first like 2 things that we'd want to do. And then if we get a kill box key and lockpicks, we could potentially try to get guns. If we don't and we have alcohol, then we would be leveling up medical. That would be the first 2 stages of our game plan. Since if medical can still allow us to, if we can still refill the bottles and use them to level up medical, that's going to be the first thing. Even if we get 1 bottle, I can I can level this up potentially with just 1 bottle. And then brawling, I think we said was going to take 7 hours. So from this level to max would be 7 hours. Melee weapons from this level to advanced could potentially be a similar time frame. This running is probably going to be about a day before we get to 14%. We're going to be 1% slower than everyone else. Endurance, if we're farming and building stuff for awareness, or we're not building. I don't know how much endurance we'll make, but we'll get endurance to medium at some point. The basic idea here, though, is that this character build, when you go into the game, you're going to be 2 stat points off of someone that had 4 in strength and con. You're going to be like 1 stat point off of someone with 1.5 dex, which is like a semi it's not so common, but it's like a semi-common thing. Your intelligence is still pretty high. Okay, you're going to be able to max out one of these skills, like any one of these skills that you focus on, you're going to be able to get pretty much maxed out or close in a day or so, I would assume. Thievery would probably be the one um, exception to that. Uh, but medium thievery is good enough to do the lockers. Basically, that's what's going on. All right. So I'm going to make this character. We will look at the percentages of the stats in the game, and then I'm going to log off and go to bed because I got another day of work, and I stayed up too late yesterday, and I just worked a 16-hour shift. Uh, Although y'all saw part of that, I mean, it's not like I'm killing myself, but it's not like I'm just eating Cheetos all day. Also, we got the Inquisitor Imperial deck in. We are waiting for the card sleeves. We also got the Orc Secret Layers stuff in. And instead of buying the like a separate just normal Necron deck and stuff for Warhammer and all that and spending an additional like 80, 90 bucks, I'm just going to go ahead and like upgrade the deck and then reslot in the cards that I want if I want to play like a precon. But at least now if we land and we happen to hear an animal or something, we might be able to like locate it a little bit easier. The main deal here though is just like on my server setting stuff, it is very, very difficult to find thread. Otherwise, I would very much prefer to be able to make a big backpack right at the beginning. Alright, to get some fast jabs. That's something I was looking at too. I was hoping to make a character with high endurance at some point and leveling that up because I really wonder about that. Like PvP wise and servers, I think that running is going to be a big one in general, but if you have really high endurance, your melee combat is like so much better. Anyway, stat wise, this is 73% or no, 67%. I might have messed up that stat. I think I did. Oh, let me do some additional numbers real quick. So you need going to 1,000,000. We need 300 and like 40,000. And that's going to be like at a 17 or 19 rate. Alright, 5 hours. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So, brawling, we got pretty advanced brawling, 67%. As you can see, we got a pretty fast punch. We're no slouch in the brawling section. We're going to be able to block some damage. And then melee is going to be our primary. So whenever we decide to level brawling, we can just take a day, go out there and start punching some stuff and be good. The other thing that's good with brawling, first off, brawling, it's good with bows because you can punch while you're holding a bow and it helps you draw and shoot people, especially when you don't have bow skill at the very beginning. The block damage is really good for servers that have high puppet damage and you have to block an attack. I've noticed that with melee weapons, like if you're using a spear and there's like 3 or 4 puppets coming after you, that brawling works pretty darn good to actually walk backwards and keep knocking them back and knocking them back. It works pretty nice. Melee weapons, getting this going, it's not going to be too bad. Archery and rifles are pretty easy to level up. Conditioning, we need to get this to like 700,000 points or 730,000 points. Southeast. I think this is it, my guys. What I'm noticing, though, is that I have to walk because it takes time for the paw prints to show up. Yeah, you can't run over it because it takes time for the paw prints to show up. West. There's no way I lost it. I was right here. Southwest. This is it, boys. Where's my fists? This is where stealth would come in nice. Where you at, chicken? Chick, 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 chick. Chick, 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 chick. This multiple? Am I crazy? Am I nuts? Oh, your ass is mine, chicken. Bro, oh, come on. Come on. Brawling, baby! Brawling! Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Again, we don't know how to eat around here, boys. We figured out the build. Oh, God. The primal server is back. This is the future. Oh, yeah, this is a good way to end the day. What's it been? 3 or 4 days now that we've been trying to perfect the build to survive on the server. And now we get this delicious chicken and all these feathers. Granted, we still got to figure out where all the meat, like all the animals are in general, because they seem to only be spawning in certain areas. But at least now we know if we start with basic awareness, we have the potential of finding something as soon as we hit the ground, which is nice. Very, very nice. Let's go ahead and eat this chicken. Or I can chop it up more. What does that do? I'm gonna get salmonella poisoning. That's what's gonna happen here. Oh. Hello. This is a good day. Alright, well, I'm going to end this here. Y'all guys have a good one, and make sure to check this out if you want. Try it out for yourself. Make yourself a really super hard server with very low loot settings and a lot of puppets and deadly things everywhere and high damage and all that good stuff, and tell me how it goes for you. Anyway, y'all guys have a great night.